Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The 1972 publication of Donald Knuth's novella, Surreal Numbers, represents a singular moment in the history of mathematical exposition. It is a work that presents a profound and complex mathematical creation, John Horton Conway's eponymous number system. Through a literary device of elegant simplicity, this essay undertakes a rigorous evaluation of the novella's internal claims, proceeding chapter by chapter through the dialogue between its protagonists, Alice and Bill. The analysis will focus directly on the specific mathematical and pedagogical assertions made within the text, examining the mechanisms proposed, the evidence offered through character-driven discovery, and the overall coherence of the intellectual journey Knuth orchestrates. The purpose is to dissect the work on its own terms, assessing its success in claiming that one of the most expansive concepts in modern mathematics can be rendered comprehensible and deeply intuitive through a narrative of shared intellectual exploration. We begin this inquiry by exploring the primordial void from which Knuth, channeling Conway, claims all numbers spring. Section 1. The Genesis from Emptiness and the First Day's Creation. The novella commences with a foundational and audacious claim that a meaningful number can be constructed from absolute nothingness. Bill presents Alice with a stone tablet containing two rules, the construction rule and the comparison rule, which operate on sets of previously created numbers. The first claim to evaluate is that the form defined by a left set and a right set, which we can speak of as the form L bar R, constitutes a number. The initial application of this principle uses the only set available at the dawn of this mathematical universe, the empty set. The resulting object, formed by the empty set on the left and the empty set on the right, is asserted to be the first number. Knuth's pedagogical claim here is that this abstract formulation is both logically sound and intuitively graspable. The evaluation of this claim hinges on the masterful narrative framing. By presenting the rules as ancient, cryptic scripture, Knuth transforms a potentially sterile axiomatic definition into a compelling enigma. Alice's role as the intelligent skeptic, questioning the meaning of constructing a number from an absence of information, mirrors the reader's own likely hesitation. The novella's internal argument for the validity of this first number, which they name 0, rests on its self-consistency. It is a number because the rules say it is, and when the comparison rule is applied, 0 is found to be less than or equal to itself, satisfying a basic property of numerical identity. The success of this section's claim lies entirely in its method. Knuth demonstrates that the philosophical weight of creation ex nihilo can be rendered palatable by making the reader a participant in the act of discovery. The evidence provided is the logical coherence that emerges when Alice and Bill test the rules, a process which builds intellectual assent through active engagement rather than passive reception of a formal proof. Section 2. The Second Day and the Emergence of Integers. Having established 0, the second section of the novella advances the claim that the iterative application of the construction principle generates the integers. The text posits that new numbers are born by partitioning the set of all existing numbers. With only 0 in their universe, Alice and Bill explore the possibilities. They form a number with 0 in its left set and an empty right set, and another with an empty left set and 0 in its right set. The novella claims these new constructions correspond to the integers 1 and -1, respectively. The internal argument for this identification is a process of systematic verification. The characters apply the comparison rule, discovering that the number with the empty set on the left and 0 on the right is less than 0, and that the number with 0 on the left and the empty set on the right is greater than 0. This aligns perfectly with the established ordering of -1, 0, and 1. The methodological claim of this section is that the intuitive properties of familiar numbers can be seen to emerge from the abstract rules, thereby validating the rules themselves. Knuth has his characters continue this process, creating 2 by placing 1 in the left set, and -2 by placing -1 in the right set. The evaluation of their work reveals a pattern that flawlessly maps onto the structure of the integers. The critical mechanism detailed here is the recursive power of the construction. Each new number enriches the set of available building blocks, allowing for the creation of ever more complex numerical forms. The genius of Knuth's presentation is in its pacing. He allows the reader, through Alice, to anticipate the next step, to guess that placing the set of all integers on the left defines a new kind of infinite number. A thought Bill quickly confirms this section's core claim, that the integers are a natural and necessary consequence of the initial rules, is substantiated by the methodical, step-by-step alignment of the constructed objects with a known behaviour of the integer number. Section 3. The third day and the birth of dyadic rationals. The third part of the dialogue introduces a more subtle and powerful claim regarding the nature of the numbers that fill the spaces between integers. After constructing the integers, Alice wonders what number is represented by the form, with 0 on the left and 1 on the right. This prompts the introduction of the simplicity principle, a cornerstone of the surreal number system. The novella claims the number born from a given partition is the simplest number that fits within the designated gap. In the case of the form with 0 on the left and 1 on the right, the characters deduce this must be 1/2. The evidence for this claim is again empirical and intuitive. They verify that this new number is indeed greater than 0 and less than 1. The deeper, more significant claim is about the nature of this simplicity. Knuth operationalizes this concept through the metaphor of a birthday. A number's birthday is the first day, or recursive step, on which it could be created. 0 is born on day 0, 1 and -1 are born on day 1. The number formed by 0 on the left and 1 on the right, which they call 1/2, is born on day 2. The novella asserts that among all numbers that could fit in a gap, the one with the earliest birthday is the one defined by the construction. This is a brilliant pedagogical translation of a rigorous formal property. It makes a complex minimality condition feel natural and almost fable-like. Following this logic, Alice and Bill discover 1/4, 3/4, and their negative counterparts, realizing they are systematically generating all fractions whose denominators are powers of 2. The dyadic rationals. The evaluation of this section's claim is overwhelmingly positive. The birthday metaphor is an extraordinarily effective device for conveying a difficult concept without resorting to dense formalism. It allows Knuth to claim that the surreal construction has an inherent bias towards simplicity, a claim that is substantiated by the orderly, predictable emergence of the dyadic rationals in a manner that mirrors their density on the real number. Section 4. The arithmetic framework and verification. This section of the novella makes its most technically ambitious claims by introducing definitions for arithmetic operations. Bill reveals further inscriptions on the tablet that define addition and multiplication. These definitions are profoundly recursive and, at first glance, appear circular. The claim is that these complex recursive formulas correctly reproduce the standard arithmetic of numbers. For example, the sum of two surreal numbers, x and y, is defined by a new surreal number whose left set contains all sums of a left set element of x with y, along with all sums of x with a left set element of y. A right set is defined analogously. The immediate intellectual challenge is to accept that such a self-referential definition is well-founded. Knuth's method for substantiating this claim is a masterstroke of pedagogical strategy. He has Alice express deep skepticism, which Bill then addresses not with a formal proof of well-foundedness, but with a practical demonstration. They collaboratively compute 1 plus 1. They substitute the surreal forms for 1, which is the number with 0 in its left set and an empty right set, into the recursive addition formula. The resulting calculation produces a new surreal number which they then must identify. By applying the comparison rules, they rigorously demonstrate that this new number is equivalent to their previously constructed version of 2. The novella's claim is that this process of verification on simple, known cases is sufficient to build the reader's trust in the validity of the arcane definitions. The same approach is taken for multiplication. The claim is that these operations, born from the same recursive spirit as the numbers themselves, form a coherent and consistent algebraic structure. The evaluation of this section must praise the psychological acuity of Knuth's method. He understands that for a non-specialist audience, a single, successful, and transparently worked example is more persuasive than a formal proof they might not follow. The claim that surreal arithmetic works is upheld by showing it in action, transforming a daunting abstraction into a workable, verifiable. Section 5. The fourth day and the appearance of the infinite and infinitesimal. Here, the novella transitions from the familiar to the extraordinary, claiming that the very same rules of construction and arithmetic naturally generate infinite and infinitesimal numbers. This represents a monumental conceptual leap. Bill guides Alice to consider a number whose left set contains all the positive integers they have so far discovered: 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. The right set is empty. The claim is that this object is a well-defined number that is greater than every integer. They name it omega, borrowing the symbol from Georg Cantor's work on transfinite ordinals. The novella argues for its existence and properties by a direct application of the comparison rule. When omega is compared to any integer, that integer is found in omega's left set, which by definition makes omega greater. This section's power derives from its claim of universality. The same simple machine that built the integers now effortlessly produces transfinite numbers. This is a direct challenge to the common perception that different kinds of numbers require fundamentally different conceptual frameworks. Knuth then has the characters explore the converse construction: a number whose left set contains only 0 and whose right set contains all the positive dyadic fractions they have found: 1, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, and so on. This number, they deduce, is greater than 0 but smaller than any positive number they have yet created. They have constructed an infinitesimal, which they name epsilon. The claim is that this infinitesimal can be added to other numbers, for example to create omega plus epsilon, demonstrating the seamless integration of these exotic objects into the existing arithmetic framework. The evaluation of this claim focuses on the elegance of the unification. Knuth shows that concepts that historically caused immense philosophical and mathematical difficulty, such as the actual infinite and the infinitesimal, emerge as routine, almost trivial, consequences of a single, consistent process. The internal evidence is the flawless functioning of the established rules when applied to these new, infinite sets. Section 6. The fifth and sixth days. All real numbers. Structure of the in its final movements, the novella makes its grandest and most sweeping claim that this constructive process, when carried through to its logical conclusion, generates a vast numerical field that contains an isomorphic copy of the real numbers and a breathtaking array of other numbers besides. The dialogue on the fifth day grapples with numbers like the square root of 2. Alice and Bill realize that such a number has a birthday of omega, meaning its construction requires an infinite number of steps. They represent it as the number whose left set contains all the dyadic rationals less than the square root of 2 and whose right set contains all the dyadic rationals greater than the square root of 2. This is a direct parallel to a Dedekind cut, one of the classic constructions of the real numbers. The novella's claim is that every real number can be represented in this way within the surreal system. The sixth day and the appendix generalize this, alluding to the ultimate result proven by Conway in his formal treatise on numbers and games. The claim is that the class of all surreal numbers forms the largest possible ordered field. It is a maximally rich structure, a universe of numbers so complete that any other ordered field can be found within it. Knuth's work does not present the formal proof of this claim. Its purpose is different. The pedagogical claim of this final section is that the narrative journey has provided the reader with a sufficiently powerful conceptual toolkit to grasp the plausibility and beauty of this final, unifying theorem. The evidence for this is the coherence of the entire preceding structure. Having seen the rules generate integers, rationals, and transfinites from a single source, the idea that they also encompass the irrationals and form a complete, universal field feels like a natural and fitting conclusion. Knuth's evaluation of the process Through the final awe-filled conversation of Alice and Bill, the two simple rules found on the tablet are the generative C for all of numerical reality. In conclusion, a meticulous evaluation of the internal claims of Donald Knuth's Surreal Numbers reveals it to be a work of profound pedagogical and mathematical integrity. Its central assertion is that a narrative of Socratic discovery can render one of the most abstract and powerful mathematical structures of the 20th century accessible and intuitively satisfying. Our section-by-section analysis confirms the success of this assertion. The novella validly claims that numbers can be created from the empty set, that the recursive application of this creation principle logically generates the integers and dyadic rationals, and that this process is governed by an elegant metaphorical simplicity embodied by the concept of a number's birthday. It further demonstrates, through carefully chosen examples, the claim that profoundly recursive definitions for arithmetic can be trusted because they correctly reproduce known results. The work's most significant achievement is its substantiation of the claim that a single, unified framework can seamlessly produce the finite, the infinite, and the infinitesimal, treating them as members of one continuous family. While it refrains from offering the rigorous proofs of Conway's more formal work, Knuth's novella successfully makes the ultimate claim that the surreal numbers constitute a universal ordered field, a claim made credible by the flawless internal consistency and escalating power demonstrated throughout the preceding narrative. The enduring significance of surreal numbers rests upon the triumphant validation of its core methodological claim that the story of mathematics is a human story, a dialogue of discovery that can lead from absolute emptiness to the richest intellectual universes. It fulfills its own promise, functioning as a perfect gateway that invites the reader not merely to observe, but to participate in a genuine act of mathematical creation.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.